What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Fresh Podcast, where we bring everything fresh in entertainment. I am your host, Drew Brumfield, and join with me. I got the whole crew with me. I got Randy. Randy, how you doing?
Doing fantastic, sitting here with a glass of wine.
Exactly. I got Seth with me. Seth, how you doing?
Doing all right. Hello.
Are you sitting there with a glass of wine?
Nah.
Maybe next time. And of course, we also got Robert with us. Robert, how are you doing?
Doing pretty good. Sitting here with a not a glass of wine, but a cup of water.
Stay
The smart
hydrated,
man.
folks. Stay hydrated. It's like
The smart man.
It was 90 degrees outside, and I was working outside all day. I am dehydrated. But we are not talking about staying hydrated. Today, we are talking about games. We were talking about video games, specifically the games of the future, the harvest of the future that we are hopefully hopeful for. Now, with all these are coming from things like Summer Game Fest, and the Xbox Showcase. They show a lot of games that some coming out this year, some coming out next year, and some we never know when they're coming out, but it just look really cool and we want to talk about. So we're going to go through that. We won't talk about every release, but we talk about the coolest ones and the ones that we are the most interested in. Before we get started with that, though, I want to give a shout out, especially to both Randy and Seth. Our recent podcast that was uploaded, the Baldur's Gate video, has been doing amazingly. That is thanks to you two. Love your support. And obviously, of course, without saying, it's thanks to the viewers and listeners at home. So thank you. But I really appreciate you guys both coming down, making that podcast fun, indulging me in my antics and my fun little microphones and weird stuff that I was doing a lot for that podcast. But I'm really glad we were able to do that and kind of have like a really big one.
Yeah, and also, since you mentioned it, it's a good opportunity for me to jump in. I have been checking in with some of the comments, and I do want to issue an apology. Yes, I'm sorry that I kept saying Neil Newborn. It is Neil Newbin, as many comments have pointed out, and I am on the very slight off chance that he might ever listen to this podcast. I am sorry, I mispronounced your name. Must have dyslexia or some shit. But Neil Newbin, I hope you understand that, like, the only reason I say your name a lot is, one, it sounds cool. Either way, Newborn or Newbin. Yeah. But also, we just really loved your performance as Astarion. So, sorry about that.
Seth, he was actually writing me angry letters to us, so I think that really will help out with him.
Does he want to kick me off the podcast? I'll happily oblige. It's I completely understand.
But I fought for you. I was like, no, he's what gets us our runtime. We need to keep Seth there. So, no, I fought for you. You're staying on. You're not getting kicked off yet.
Cool.
But yeah, so definitely thank you guys, so that we will probably have more shorts about that podcast in the future, and maybe we'll have future in-person podcast, but who knows? But we're not talking about the future of this podcast right now. We're talking about the future of video games. And I wanted to start off with, I wanted to get this one out of the way, because this is the one that I think everyone here, all four of us, are like, yeah, this is a game we're excited for. And in my opinion, this was like the thing that Xbox won with this trailer, and that is the Doom prequel, I believe Doom Dark Ages. This game looks metal as hell. Oh, but you want to talk about someone that just understands what Doom fans want. They gave him the fur cape. They gave him a Captain America shield with a chainsaw. They gave him a gun that uses enemy skulls as ammo. It's metal.
Sick. I didn't even know
really
I wanted it. I didn't know I wanted it, but I wanted it.
It kind of bums me out that we kind of knew sort of ahead of time that this was coming. There was a big, and obviously it's only if you're really pay attention to a lot of video game news, but there was kind of a leak of sort of the lineup of some of Xbox's games, and one of those was some sort of Doom prequel. Originally in those documents, it was called Doom Year Zero. I do like the Dark Ages better. I think it fits the theme a lot more. But yeah, I agree with Drew. I don't know if it's what won the show per se for me, but I will say, as a personal big fan of like the Doom series, I really did enjoy like that Dark Ages trailer. Um,
And
it's especially since like a lot of the stuff that has come out since then where they've talked with like Hugo Martin and all them about what their plan is for Doom the Dark Ages is that they say that they are wanting to get a little bit back more towards the original design of like Doom 1 and 2. So one of the things they said is that maybe a little bit less of a focus on verticality and instead making big arena spaces where it is more focused on dodging projectiles, because they mentioned that like in the older Doom games you had like slower moving projectiles that you would dodge in larger arenas, and they say that's kind of the game plan. And you kind of see that in the trailer where you have these like big like open
Yeah,
areas where
massive spaces.
yeah, and instead of like if you know like Doom Eternal, half of that game was platforming, which is not a bad thing, mind you.
was
It
good
was really
platforming.
good
It was done
platform.
well.
Yeah. But it's really cool to see them do that. They're also giving Doom Guy a proper parry now, which
Oh,
is that's fucking sick. The closest thing you got to a parry in Doom Eternal was like just timing your super shotgun shot at the right time. That was really about it. Whenever you fought the Marauders, but I'm super stoked. I love the art design and look of it all. It's one of those weird issues where the prequel it's like it's a prequel, but it's like the loadout is so much cooler than the stuff that Doom Guy gets later on. But I mean, I think there's an argument. Like, I don't know, how do you guys feel about Chainsaw Captain America shield for Doom
I'm
Guy?
here for it.
dude.
Yeah.
I think
who
that's
Well,
a
in
really
Doom
cool
is
take.
I guess-
on it.
who in Doom is like, ooh, the Lord shouldn't make sense that he has it. No, real Doom fans are the more metal, the better. Like it doesn't matter. If
It's
prequel
more
or
it's more
future.
about like it's more like the escalation of things. It's
Yeah.
weird. It's like, damn, you had all this back then, and then now you just like
Look, he got tired.
I
you're,
just
you're
got a
like gonna
shotgun.
depower.
He got
But I
tired.
mean, like,
I killed
did
too many
need
people
it.
with a shield.
Yeah.
I wanted to use a sword. You gotta keep being creative. Other than the
Yeah,
double
and
barrel, that's the tried and true. Yeah, just keep mixing
Yeah,
it
and
up.
I mean, they took away the grappling hook. It looks like from, or as it was called in Doom Eternal, the meat hook from the super shotgun. But like I said, they replaced it with the shield and a pretty like nasty looking flail, which is really cool. One thing I also notice, and this is just my theory going forward, is if they're going to harken back to older Doom games, and since this is a prequel set before Doom Guy becomes like the proper like weapon of the gods whenever he gets that weird baptism by the seraphs that you see in Doom Eternal. I think it's at that moment where his armor is able to use the blood of his enemies to regenerate his health. That's kind of like the lore reason. If this is set before, one thing I notice is they didn't really show off a lot. They didn't show off any glory kills in this game. I wonder if they're going back to health pickups, like just health pickups, no glory kills for health in Doom: The Dark Ages. Because lore-wise, it would make sense because it's before his armor gets powered up to absorb the essence from his enemies.
See, I'm okay with gameplay reasons if glory kills don't give you health. Part of me still wants you to be able to do that just because those animations are great, like with the different guns.
Oh, yeah.
Like if you look at their feet, he'll sweep their feet. If you look at their head, he'll hit their head in. So part
I
of me
feel
is
like
Yeah.
that's the reason they have the flail is like is that, and I wonder if they're going to be adding in even more proper melee weapons on top of that too. Like I said, we have time. This is not coming out till 2025. But I'm very curious to see if they are interested in changing up the typical gameplay loop that they had established with the previous two Doom games.
Yeah, I wonder if they're gonna kind of slow it down a bit back to 2016. I say slow down because like Eternal, you had very small like ammo pools, so you had to switch weapons a lot to kind of fill up ammo and everything. But Doom 2016 was a little more like methodical with it in a way, where you had a lot more ammo to work with. So it wasn't as kind of like in your face action that Eternal has. So I'm wondering if they're going to kind of go back in that direction with Dark Ages.
Part of
Especially,
me-
yeah,
yeah.
especially with the talks about like wanting to get back to like Doom 1 and 2. I feel like when they bring that up, it's going to put a heavier emphasis on resource pickups rather than with Doom 2016 and then in like Doom Eternal, it was like you got resources from like glory kills and you got armor from flamethrower kills and you got like ammunition from chainsaw. And I wonder if like yeah, it's going to be more like here's a big arena. It's more bullet helly now, where it's more focused on you dodging enemy attacks and projectiles. I imagine that's a big reason why they have the shield is because if they do decide to get more aggressive with projectiles, they need something there to help give the player that extra bit of protection.
Yeah, one of the things I've always liked about both 2016 and Eternals, but definitely Eternals, is that it had a really good sense of like momentum of like if you're low on health, you kill things. If you need ammo, you kill things, but a different way. So it's like enemies became your resources. And that was always like a really fun thing of just like to keep you up in the action. Like, the best way to play it is aggressive, and like that's always fun. So it's a little worrying that's like we're backtracking a little bit, but I still like I trust it enough to be like I don't they'll slow it down. It'll be slow compared to Doom though, not slow compared to any other game.
I mean,
even
I think
in the trailer, I think it's like cool. I think it's really cool of just like it's less about like getting through it really fast and switching to everything. It's more about like here's just a wave, and here's just like how much can you take on at once. So it'll be. I'm excited for it to be different, even though like I really did like the old style, but I trust like the Doom devs enough to be like they understand the franchise and they understand like why people are playing these games.
Yeah, I think I appreciate just the fact that it seems like id Software is determined to not just rest on their laurels when it comes to the gameplay loop. Like they set something up with 2016 and then they build upon it a lot with Eternal. And it's cool that it looks like with Doom the Dark Ages, it looks like that they're still keeping a lot of the similar, very ultra violent in your face kind of vibes of those two games, but they've also kind of made it clear that they want to go for something a little bit more like old school, more arena focused, which is very nice. So I'm definitely down for that, and I'm looking forward to it. I'm also really ready to like ride a dragon and do like the Godzilla execution on a demon.
I knew
like that's
the second we saw that, I was like, yes, Seth is freaking out right now. The second I saw that, I was like,
Yeah.
Seth's freaking out at that right now.
nah, it's fucking cool.
But yeah, I think that's enough about Doom. But yeah,
Yeah,
like
I just
Seth
have
said,
like one more comment
Oh
for
yeah,
Doom.
go ahead. Sorry.
Said I think it looks great. I think in terms of the showcase, they showed Doom a little too early. I think it would have probably made a bigger impact towards the end of the show than at the start. Like it was a good opener, don't get me wrong. I think it kind of the impact lessened because of the rest of the showcase.
I think
don't
it was
know.
okay.
I think it was fine,
I mean, I'm not
especially 'cause
really
it's-
down.
Real quick, I would say like I'm okay with it opening with it because it doesn't come out till 2025. I feel like whatever your
Yeah,
big
it's
ender
still gonna be
has
ways
to,
away. Yeah,
whatever your ender has to be like this is our biggest thing, and it's also close, so it's like the last thing in people's mind.
Yeah.
So I'm fine.
what
with
what
that.
did they end on? Because I actually didn't catch the end of the show.
I think it was Gears of War E-Day.
It was Gears of
Okay.
War.
Yeah, they
Right. Which to me, I think that makes sense to end it on because that's something without a confirmed release date. It is just a cinematic. But I will say, and I'm pretty sure I'm the only one here who can speak to this because I'm not sure if any of you other guys have really played the Gears games, or even if you did, if you really got really into them as much as I did when I was younger. And I don't want to make a whole thing out of it. I'll just make it quick about E-Day. I really like that trailer. I'm not really that crazy for cinematics, but one, E-Day, if you know anything about the lore behind Gears of War, that is kind of a specific event in that universe's history that a lot of players have wanted a game about, and it's just never happened. And they're just outright saying it's happening now. But also, man, when they use the piano to play a couple of licks of Mad World, which has so much tied, that song has so much deep roots into the Gears of War history, and it's like Dom pulling Marcus up. I definitely got like chills watching that because it's just like I said, you wouldn't get it unless you were really into the Gears of War series, but this felt like coming back home and seeing Gears again, and it's such a well done trailer. So yeah, I'm really curious to see what E-Day is going to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'll be
No,
interesting.
with that added context, it makes a little more sense why Doom would be more on the front end then.
Yeah. But those both look interesting. But in those two games, Randy, what's something else that kind of really stood out to you for this? Or for any of the showcases, not just the Xbox showcase.
Yeah. So, we'll go ahead and touch on it now. I'm sure all of us have at least something to say.
Yeah.
Maybe.
The ones we're
But,
all going to say. Yeah, get all these out of the way. We're
Yeah,
all
I'll get those out of the
interested.
way. Is that Assassin's Creed Shadows?
Yeah.
I still need to finish Mirage. I'll get there eventually.
I need to start it.
But so, takes place feudal Japan. It's a location and time period we've pretty much been asking for since I swear the Ezio trilogy, or maybe even before then.
I think even since the first game, like no joke, like I think since they established that like this was all like based in like history and stuff, I think people were like wanting to have
feudal
feudal Japan.
I want
since
ninjas
then.
now. Yeah.
Basically. I thought it was a good mix for the people who like the new RPG games, like Odyssey, like Valhalla, and the people that like the older style games, but still have some RPG elements, so more of like Mirage, like Origins.
Yeah.
Maybe like I don't know. We'll have to see more if it harks back towards 3 and Black Flag and stuff. I don't think it's going to, because those games very much relied on like the counter style combat, which even watching this gameplay it doesn't have. So that's why I'm saying more Origins and Mirage for older style.
It definitely it's definitely like on paper. Like I'm trying to like purposely like don't get too excited. It's Ubisoft. Don't get too excited. But like this on paper is like everything I kind of really want. Of like, yeah, it's in the time period that, and I'll admit I've been one of the fanboys that's been like, bring us to Japan, please. It's harking back to it's you're getting shinobi like ninja gameplay, and you're also getting samurai gameplay. It reminds me a lot of like what Ghost of Tsushima did, of like kind of splitting the two combat styles, not totally separate, but like making it clear, and even like story reasons of just like why you'd be sneaky, or why you'd purposely be like destructive and big and challenge everyone right at the front door.
Yeah,
I think that's really cool, like splitting it up in like two different characters.
Yeah, two characters that are also just like different. The last time we had two characters.
Are they doing like a syndicate kind of thing with this game?
It's almost exactly Syndicate. Yeah, you have two main characters. Other than obviously they're not related. They're not brother and sister.
They're not related, and also it seems like less so like Syndicate, where it has in Syndicate you had dedicated Jacob story missions, or like these sequences you're basically playing as Jacob. These sequences you're playing as Evie. To my understanding, and like I said, we'll have to see how much they do on this. Yes, you'll have your dedicated, like, personal arcs, but maybe not necessarily main story. That will be like, okay, this one you need to play as Naoe. Okay, this one you need to play as Yasuke. So, you'll have your own personal arcs and intro missions, I think, as those characters, but, we'll have to see. Yeah. We'll have to see. But from my understanding, it looks like they're going to, when it comes to main story, it's gonna be like, cool. Do you want to go assassinate this person as Yasuke, or do you want to go assassinate them as Naue? So
I'm
Yeah,
super
I
interested
think
about it, yeah. Go ahead.
no, I definitely think like there is like a lot of like Syndicate vibes, and I do seem to remember the directors and or the team behind it going like, yeah, no, there will be some specific missions that tied specifically to the story that you will have to play as one or the other. Um, it is interesting. I do get a lot of Syndicate vibes, but in a good way. From this
like it
game.
might be a good game.
We're not
Thought
doing this
Syndicate
again.
was a
We've
good
already done
game,
this
but
podcast.
sure.
Go
We've
listen to our
Um,
Syndicate podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, now I gotta
But
remember to tag the Syndicate podcast in this one.
but uh but here it's like once again you're having like two protagonists. It also they're bringing back the grapple hook, although it's less like Batman's and it's more like a traditional style, like you throw it up and you have to climb the damn rope or swing on it type deal, which is cool.
Yeah, seeing some of her like Naue's parkour, I'm just like, oh, if this can be like smooth, I'm here for it. I'm here
Yeah,
for it.
I
It's
do-
flashier than like uh Mirage and stuff like that, but like it's not to the point of Unity. So don't freak out, people. But
I mean, I think I'm just happy to see more new animations. Just like I'm happy to
yeah.
just see new animations for the parkour. One thing I want to kind of get out ahead of is I've seen some like I think with any game we talk about on this podcast, a healthy amount of skepticism is good, obviously, but I do see a lot of people kind of like complaining already about the parkour in this game, which hey, that's nothing new. Um, I do want to make this clear about something with people. If you really wanted a parkour heavy Assassin's Creed game, then probably Feudal Japan was not your best bet. Uh, One thing about like Feudal Japan, one thing about that kind of era of Japan is a lot of our buildings we didn't have extremely tall buildings. We had a lot of like 1 to 2 story, like almost like houses. And so don't expect any crazy like wall running shenanigans or any of that shit. The most would probably be like the big castles. And even in those cases, one thing you would probably notice is a lot of our tiled roofs are spread out very wide, which means like you can't just wall run and grab the edge of the roof because it's so pushed far back. So I imagine that's why they also have to use the grappling hook there because it's like, it's just not. I mean, this
it would
is
look weird if they
Yeah.
tried to like run up it and then like jump so far back to grab the edge of the wall, or the
It's
edge of the roof.
yeah. So like, I understand people. I understand why people are upset about like, oh, the parkour doesn't look like it would be as in depth as even as something as Mirage. And I played Mirage, and I think that it has pretty good parkour. And I think a lot of it has to do with the fact the city was built to accommodate that. But the thing is like if you know anything about Japanese architecture and history with it, like we didn't really have the most parkour friendly. You will just see a lot of like just jumping from roof to roof. So I think a lot of people might want to temper their expectations if they thought that like it was going to be anything more crazy than that. But I do like what they're doing here. I liked especially the stealth gameplay. Of course, Yasuke's stuff looks fun. I think since Origins, in my personal opinion, I think Ubisoft has just been getting better and better about the melee combat and making it
Yeah, with
have
that new style.
and making it have good like kind of crunchy like feedback on it and enemy variety and like uses of parries, and I feel like they're getting better at it. But I think the stealth has suffered in the past couple of games, and I definitely
Agreed.
liked everything they showed here. I got way more excited than I should have been whenever I saw Naue fucking go prone in the grass.
Oh
'Cause
yeah,
I'm like,
go prone and then also like go prone into the pond to like
yeah, and then she
swim
puts
into it
up
and
like
sneak
the
up behind
Or-
someone.
Yeah, and then like put up a reed to like breathe through like the pond as she's like waiting for her target. Um, all that stuff looks really cool. And and like also taking out lights. I think that's a first for Assassin's Creed. I
It
can't
is.
remember. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't think of any.
Which is really cool. Just watching that, it was like to me it was just like insane. I feel like the other stealth games have obviously done that, and stealth has always been a big part of Assassin's Creed, but always I don't think I've ever seen it felt like it was that in depth. So I'm really excited mostly to play it stealthily. um and but the combat looks cool too. They came out with a bit more other bits of gameplay showing off a little bit more things like Yasuke using rifles in combat,
Yeah, I remember seeing that.
and even Naue, how she fights. And Naue seems to be less parry focused like Yasuke is, and is more dodge like, which makes more sense since she seems to be a more nimble character. One thing that's really cool is like with Naue, whenever she's fighting her targets, I noticed that a lot of her combat seemed to be focusing, and I don't know if it's just like the animations or it's something the player's actually doing specifically, but she seems to be like cutting the straps off of enemies' armor to weaken them.
Yeah,
Um,
instead of like busting it open.
That's cool.
yeah, which is like that's just like cool. So I'm really interested to see that. It feels like it seems like the devs are not saying that parkour and stealth are just exclusive to Naue. It seems like Yasuke might be able to do it to some degree, but he will be kind of limited in his options.
Yeah.
The most parkour I saw of the gameplay they showed was him running through walls.
Yeah, I would maybe not
That's-
classify that as parkour.
No, that's
But
the
yeah,
parkour
from my
I'm
understanding,
here.
yeah, like
aggressive
he is-
parkour.
and that's one of the things I'm excited about is they are making these characters more distinct than I felt Jacob and Evie were from each other. So you have like one person who's very much going to be the more stealth oriented, and then one person that's going to be very much more the combat oriented. Not that you can't do either, but it seems like Yasuke might only be able to like I could see he probably won't be able to get up on the like tall castle roofs where Naue has to use the grappling hook to get up. Like no way, he's not going to be able to do that. Which I'm excited for. I'm excited that they're different characters and it's not just like once you finally get to the end of their skill tree, Jacob does a little bit more damage. So
That'd be fun. Yeah. One thing I also like too is I know we haven't really talked about these games a lot yet, but I know we've kind of hinted at it with the RPG kind of trilogy that started with Origins and go up to Valhalla. Is we've kind of talked about after Origins, it does feel like the Assassin's Creed games have become less and less about, well, assassins and the Creed in terms of like their main narratives, honestly. And one thing I really like that gives me a bit more hope that the Assassin's Creed Shadows, in terms of its story, will actually be more of an Assassin's Creed focused kind of story, is when Yasuke specifically like quotes like, you know, before now he runs off to be like, you know, we work in the shadows to serve the light, which is something that's been said since the first Assassin's Creed. So I'm also hopeful that like we'll actually have a story about assassins, not just like these weird progenitors of assassins, or in Avor's case is like, yeah, I know an assassin, and that's about it.
you know, I knew
No,
an
I know a
assassin
guy.
once.
Yeah. I once
He
threw an
saved my life.
assassin off a really tall cliff.
It's like
That's
that's
about
about,
it.
the extent
Yeah.
of it.
No, it's cool. I'm excited for it, obviously, because it finally is like, it's not only a new Assassin's Creed game. That's cool. I'm definitely gonna play it, but it's a new Assassin's Creed game in the setting that like I have been waiting for a while. So like my mind's still on that right now. Hopefully, like in the next couple months, I can try to cloud that hype and analyze it a bit more. But outside of Assassin's Creed, which was one of like Ubisoft's like biggest presentations, Robert, we'll go to you because I haven't been able to talk to you for a while. What is one of the things on your list that you're like, this game has got your eye on it?
I'm probably going to start the one I'm the most excited for, which is Metaphor ReFantazio, which we've
Okay.
seen like footage like quite a bit throughout the year. Something that they revealed, I believe, last summer. Xbox revealed it at their showcase. I think it might have been one of the ones that was leaked, but that's besides the point. We got to see more footage of that at the main show this year, and I continue to be very excited about that because like Atlas, it's being developed by Atlas, which developed like Persona as like their flagship series these days. The Shin Megami Tensei is their older one, but Metaphor ReFantazio is still like Atlas's gameplay formula, but in a more fantastical setting, which is something that they don't particularly do. More of their games are more like contemporary modern settings. So kind of to see more like, things like elves and magic and kingdoms and stuff in like in Atlas's formula is going to be interesting. Um I this trailer for E3, not E3, fuck, Summer Games Fest, showed off more of like the transformation stuff. So it seems like you kind of turn into some of the demons you fight as and fight with. So it's really exciting to kind of see where they're going with that game. Um, so yeah, that's like my most anticipated one.
I have to ask you,
I
Robert,
also have been.
real
Go
quick.
ahead.
I just want to ask this:
So
is this the same people behind Persona? Because this is the one. Like, I'm pretty sure this is the one that looks very Persona to me.
yeah, it is.
Okay,
He
I
did
just
say
wanted to
that
clarify.
already.
Okay, sorry. I just wanted to clarify that.
That was
I
like
didn't
my
hear you.
lead in.
Sorry, I misheard you. You said metaphor, and I was like, I can stop paying attention now. No,
Well, fuck
seriously.
you too.
Damn,
Joking,
all right.
I'm joking. I'm joking. No, I'm sorry. I didn't hear you. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Seth.
Yeah, I want to just jump off with Robert. So, funnily enough, I think in some of the previews, because people got to go hands on with it and talk about it. So, Robert, you called them demons. It's actually funny because they apparently they are actually calling the monsters and stuff you fight in the game as humans. Um, that which is we'll see what that means going forward. I'm sure that they'll have like a big story reason of like why it is. So technically the big wasp and giant oversized monsters you see are humans.
I
Anyways,
guess they turn into the monsters like you can, if I had to guess.
maybe, but like it seems to be like even though they clearly look human, like the main character definitely looks human. They apparently they're not called humans. It's interesting. I'm pretty sure, like I said, we'll get to figure out more once this game comes out and we actually get to play into the story. Um, I agree with Robert. I'm really excited about it. I really enjoy the Persona series. It's now one of my favorite games series to play. Um, and this I'm really excited about it because a lot of what Atlas has done, and it's not just Persona but also Shin Megami Tensei, is the best way to describe those genres is urban fantasy, where it usually has some sort of like contemporary setting, but there's always like these supernatural elements. But now instead of urban fantasy, Atlas is now moving full on into like fantasy. This seems to have like some steampunk-esque vibes to it with like the train that like looks like will be sort of like your mobile home as you're moving about this world. um I really like that. Once again, they're combining the elements of like the calendar system with this game and the then like dungeon delving, but also like they've already said that like there will be things where you will have relationships that you can build up with like characters, and you will also have downtime where you can like boost your skills. Like I remember part of like the demos that people were showing where you were just they were just chilling out on the train, and one of the things that they elected to do was like read a book or something to pass the time, which is like very Persona-esque, which is just you know using like mundane task or everyday tasks to sort of like chill out, relax, take a step back, but it's also helping build up something about like your character or your party. um
Yeah,
I'm really
that's
digging that.
yeah, that's been Atlas's one of their major strengths is like relationship building of the party and really getting to know these characters as people. So kind of getting to see like a different take on that in Metaphor sounds interesting. That also I didn't know why I didn't think of this till now, but for like that train, it kind of reminds me in a way of like Howl's Moving Castle,
Oh yeah.
like
No, I
the
get
like
that.
they ride on that. It kind of gives me that vibe in a way. Like not anything as extravagant, but it's still there's still like a parallel there.
It's like the era of technology is very similar with each other, like that kind of like level. Um, I really like that. Just the art design obviously looks phenomenal. I have no doubt I will dig the story of this game just because I just love like the Persona games and like their stories. And so I have no doubt that like Atlas is gonna like knock it out of the park with this. Um, the story setup sounds like very, not in terms of tone, but like it sounds like that there is like a competition for the crown going on. I think it's called like the tournament, right? That's
Something
kind
like
of,
that.
yeah, where basically you're having like all these different like factions, and these people are building up these like relationships and bonds, and like are journeying throughout like the country to ultimately be like the ruler of it, I assume. Um,
Basically prove that they can be king or something like that.
and that's really cool. I I really like that. I think that's going to be cool to see Atlas's take on it. One of the things I remember them talking about in terms of like the themes of the story is they want to tap into one of its central themes being about like anxiety and overcoming that. And I think that'll be like here they're not called, even though they look and function very similar to the personas. They are called archetypes here, and it is about like unlocking archetypes and for the first time, it's not just your character, but it's also the rest of your party can unlock new archetypes, and you
Yeah,
can
it's
kind of
like
like mix and match those.
yeah, it's like a job system in like a Final Fantasy game where you can set each character to a different archetype to fit specific roles. So like, you have like your mage, you have like your paladin, have like I don't know, your thief, like kind of stuff like that, just
It
in a
looks
more steampunk
and
way.
it looks cool as shit. And also the dungeon delving also looks cool. I do appreciate that they're using more action game elements too, where it's like if it's like a weaker enemy, you can kind of go in and just do like a simple combo on them and take them out. Or if it's an enemy on your level, you can kind of like initiate a fight to do like a combo, and then you get proper into the turn-based fight. And I believe it might put you more at like an advantage when you do that, which is just like that's cool. I think it's going to help add much needed variety when it comes to dungeon crawling, because like I love the Persona games, and I think they've gotten a lot better about it since like with like Royal, and then with like Reload, with like adding variety into how you delve into dungeons and stuff like that. But there's still that little bit of element of repetition, and you're like, okay, I just kind of want to get this fight done with and
Yeah.
be over with it.
Yeah, I think they might have been inspired from that because there's a game that's actually coming out in a few weeks in the States here, Legend of Heroes Trails Through Daybreak. That game actually has a similar system too, where it can kind of split between action and turn-based combat. So like in that game for like the boss fights you have to do turn-based, but in like regular encounters you could either choose to play it like an action game or a turn-based RPG. So you can kind of play more of how you want to play it in most cases.
Yeah, and I
So
think
I,
that
th- I think that Atlas might have taken a page out of that book.
yeah. So it just it's just cool. And even when I say it's fantasy, it's like I think the thing that draws me most to this game, more than the gameplay and more than just the pedigree behind it, is just the visuals of it. Like, yes, this is a fantasy game, but it is such a different looking fantasy game. You could maybe point to like, oh, it's got like a very anime-esque like art style, but even like anime, like you can watch like a bajillion different isekais and they all look like they have the same fucking like fantasy kind of vibe to it. This is not the case. I feel like Metaphor has a very unique look and style to it that even with it coming into sort of like the high fantasy genre, it is doing something different with that as well, just with the way the characters look and the way the UI is. So I'm also like very just I'm ready to just vibe with this game more than anything.
No, I was reading something about the UI. I learned that like Atlas like pays like their UI artists like really freaking well, and it shows because they let them do their best work. Metaphor's menuing is like it's got the same style as like Persona 5's like menuing, just in a more fantasy look. Like it
Yeah.
Atlas UIs just don't miss lately. They just don't.
Yeah, because like Persona, I with like Royal, for example, I always felt like that there was sort of like a graffiti type look to it whenever you're like kind of like you have a lot of ink splashes and stuff like that. Whereas like with this game, it's more like how do I put it? It's like old timey look, like it's almost like an old timey newspaper where it's just like just slamming it into your face. I think that's one of their strengths too, is like one of the reasons I've always been kind of turned off with like JRPGs, especially, is that a lot of times you just see menus and menus and it looks very unattractive to play. But I think Atlas has always been smart about making their UIs and menus look like actual fun to move through and play. So I agree with that. I definitely think like that Metaphor has like a really good UI system. I'm just more I'm very excited just to see Atlas take the lessons that they've learned from games like Shin Megami and like Persona and start to like put those towards like put those lessons towards something new and different, because I know there's some fans out there who are just like all Atlas does is Persona nowadays, you know. Um and I think it's cool that they're kind of showing like we could do more than Persona, and they're taking those lessons and making something unique and interesting. So I'm just excited that for it. More than anything, I'm ready to just be surprised by that team.
Yeah, because like most of what they've put out is stuff that's usually like a sequel or a spin-off. Like, oh hey, we finally got a Soul Hackers game after so many years. And then there was like SMT Fire Emblem game that came out on like the Wii U. But other than like those, I can't really think of anything that's not like SMT or Persona. So just them doing something totally new and bold for them, it just makes me really excited, and it shows you can tell that a lot of passion's been going into this game, just with how much like they've how much care they've put in the world and the UI, and they even like take time to explain like how the logo of the game kind of fits with the themes too, because the logo's like you're walking down a city street and you see like a tower or a castle down the middle. It's I just can't wait for this game, man.
Yeah, another detail I like is how they explain the in-game music is that it is actually diegetic. It is actually happening in the world. Apparently, there is a spell cast on the main character so that they can hear the music in their head. So all like the battle themes and stuff is actually things the main character can hear.
That's awesome.
Which is very, very cool.
The main character
One more thing I would
schizophrenic
want
as a mechanic. I love it.
speaking of the main character, one more thing I would like to say is I'm very, very excited that they've got the main character to actually be voiced and is not a silent protagonist. Something with the Persona series is that technically the main characters have been voiced, but it's mostly just just like, you know, when they're
Spelling your
interacting.
Persona names.
Yes, it's mostly persona names. That's really about it. Sometimes they'll be like if like when Joker uses his third eye, or they're like go shopping and the character might say something. So and it sucks because I know a lot of talent, like the talented voice actors behind it don't really get a lot of room to shine sometimes. And I think it will be more interesting to see the main character be voiced and feel like they have a more active. And I think another thing is it'll make it feel like the main character has a more active role in the story of the game rather than having everyone sort of like talk around them. So that's another reason I'm very excited for that. I hope, I know it's a lot to get voice acting on everything. It's a lot of work, but I hope that becomes the norm for Atlas and like Persona games going forward is let the main character talk. Like just
Yeah,
let him talk.
because last thing I was like, yeah, typically their protagonists tend to be more self-inserty, specifically Persona. So this not being Persona, hopefully they just be like, all right, we're gonna let this character actually like be able to shine outside of like, you know, gameplay.
Yeah, I mean, and it's like, and I would argue that like a lot of the sorry, I don't want to get too off track with it. I would argue the Persona games have like the main characters do have personalities, and like this game is still having dialogue choices. It's just voice now, which is like nice. So I just want to see more of that personally. I want to see because like after playing through Persona 5 and Persona 3, I love Makoto. I love Joker. And I feel like that they do have character. It's just not given a lot of room to shine often. So I hope going forward, Atlas can use that to develop their main characters more. And I'm really excited to see what this main character does.
All right.
All
He
right.
rides his sword like a skateboard. I mean, that's fucking
Yeah.
cool as shit.
I don't know why you guys didn't
All right,
lead with
Drew.
that. I feel like that's all you need to say
Drew.
about the game.
We
Drew-
gotta save the best for last.
Yeah, there you go. You should have just.
This whole time, Drew is like Pim from Smiling Friends when he's all dried out and like a corpse, and he's just like, I don't fucking care. And then all of a sudden, it's like, by the way, the main character rides his sword like a fucking like skateboard. He's like, what? That's fucking cool as shit. It's like,
I mean,
wait,
no, I'm
whoa.
joking. I mean, obviously I knew that. I saw the trailer, but still, that's a really cool. That's a really cool thing, man. More people need to ride weapons like skateboards in video games. That should be.
Shout out
like
to
a more
Nero and
often-
Chai.
Okay, but that's enough about metaphor. Seth, I know you just went on a little speech there, but it is your turn. Back to you. Of what was something else that really caught your eye? Something that you could just talk forever about.
Like I talked a lot, so actually I'm gonna try to make this short because I feel like the
Okay.
other game I really want to talk about we'll get into later. Me and Randy both know what game I'm going to talk about later. One game
Yeah.
that I really was impressed by was South of Midnight.
I was waiting for someone to say this. This actually was going to be the one I was going to say next if you
All
didn't
right,
say
cool.
it. So this worked perfectly. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. There was a lot of other cool stuff. Like, yes, I am one of those weirdos who's like, I am excited for the Starfield expansion, and I am excited for the Indiana Jones game, and the Perfect Dark demo looked really cool. But South of Midnight captured me because there's just, my God, the vibe of it immediately is just. I'm so in for the like sort of like it's got that Spider-Verse kind of I know we call it Spider-Verse. We really got to come up with another name for it. But it got that Spider.
Did it because it's
Yeah.
purposely lowering only one person's frame rate, and that
Yeah, the shifting
yeah.
the shifting frame rate look. Yeah, it looks so good. Like the sort of like watercolor vibe with it. It's all set in like I assume like the like Louisiana Bayou.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like just the folklore, and I already really like the main characters like back and forth, and there's just this really neat like kind of like sort of lighter tone to it, but there's also like a little bit of like sort of dark like almost folktale underlining everything, like the way the fish like looks whenever she's talking with it, or the alligator that comes up later. I just love like the art style behind it. It's also a game with like a really cool it's also a game that's like looks like to be a character action game, which is also another thing. I was not expecting this game to be a
No.
character action game.
Yeah. That was also a very big surprise to me.
It was it looks so cool and it looks so unique, and I'm already sold on the vibe of this game. I'm very excited for South of Midnight. But Drew, I know you want to probably say some things on it
No,
too.
I mean, but I'm just gonna pretty much say exactly what you said, but I'm just gonna say exactly what you said. No, I mean, I love the claymation kind of style that they're going for. It's very like obviously the actual animations are very Spider-Verse, because one character is purposely moving at a slower frame rate than the rest of the world, which I will admit, it did kind of like mess me up the first like the first time I watched it, it was a bit disorienting, and then you get used to it, and like kind of let the visuals take over, and that's really cool. But I mean, it gives you the same like. I think just the claymation gives me very like Coraline or
very Coraline.
yeah, like those kind of like. Ironically, this entire trailer is set like in the middle of the day or really at dawn in a swamp, but still I can see this game having a lot of like spooky elements just because that's where a lot of claymation tends to lead because of how unnatural it naturally looks, which is a weird sentence. So I can see it almost having like horror elements, which would be super cool. But yeah, I love it when a game, especially an action game, so like obviously the gameplay is super cool, but like just its visual style alone is just so appealing and drawing that like I can't stop looking at this. Like I will definitely check this out. Is this a Seth, remind me, and I know a lot of things from the Xbox showcase were day one Game Pass stuff. Is this one of those? Or do you remember?
I'm pretty sure it is because it's being made by an Xbox first party, which is Compulsion.
Yeah.
And yeah, so like I imagine this is going to be one that is coming to
Day
Game
one
Pass.
So that's already super cool. Of like, and if it wasn't enough that like its visuals and gameplay look super cool, yeah, that it's gonna come out immediately is. I'm trying this day one.
I think it's set for 2025.
Yeah.
Another thing is I really liked the. Oh man, I don't know how to just. I'm so sorry. I feel like I'm missing out on what exactly the genre is, but the music behind it, especially with whenever she's climbing
called
the
folk
church to
music.
ring the.
You-
We call it just folk music. Well, it feels
you
more.
call it blues if you want to call it that.
I feel like I feel like it's more hearkening to blues. I one thing we got to get ahead of this too is it very clearly like with the characters and like the setting of it being in the deep south. I feel like this game is going to be drawing heavily of that area, especially from black culture. Like I feel like we have to acknowledge that like this is definitely their game, and I think it looks phenomenal. I'm obviously I'm excited to see more diverse stories and characters being told, and I think this is something that this is not no, this is not the type of game we see at all. Like
No.
deep South folklore, with a heavy like blues influence with like a black lead. No, we don't get those kinds of games. So I'm really, really excited to see what they do with this game.
Yeah.
Um,
Definitely.
I One more thing I will throw out is like, man, it's this really cool third person like character action game with a unique animation style, and it seems to be like a heavy emphasis on music. It looks really cool. I hope when this game releases, Microsoft doesn't decide to kill the studio afterwards, because this looks phenomenal.
Yeah.
And
I can't believe I forgot about this game until like halfway through you talking about it. I was like, oh wait, I remember this. This actually
Yeah.
looks really cool.
yeah.
No, it looks sick. This was like, I like watched the trailer like 3 times because I'm like, this is like, other than obviously like Doom, and the new AC game, like this is like probably my most anticipated game I'm looking forward to next year. Just because I first off I love character action games, and I also just love like things that have a really unique art style, things that look different, and also kind of touch on a period where like we don't see a lot of like southern, bayou type, either lore or just like setting for a game. It's very unique for that. And I think that really helps it kind of stand out and have its own identity, around, versus everything else. So,
Yeah, I mean, like,
looking forward to it next
I mean, like I really want more games like this, which is games that are not like other games. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm looking forward. I am going to play the next Assassin's Creed game. I am going to I am going to play like, the numbered sequels because I get excited when I see a new number on the end of a title. But I also really want to see more games that have like unique vibes and something that doesn't look like it's trying to be like, hey, this isn't going to be the next like big ass hero shooter, or this isn't going to be like another 125-hour like RPG with a big ass open world to explore. Like this seems like a very like, maybe I'm assuming too much, but based on the trailer we've seen, it looks like a very tight and focused experience. And that's what I want to see more of, is like more interesting artistic type of games that can exist alongside those other bigger titles.
Yeah. Um, moving forward, just because, like, since Seth said that, there's really only one more game I have on my list that I really care about, and you even referenced it very quickly, so I won't, and I probably won't even harp on it too much, is the Indiana Jones. I believe it's the Great Circle.
Interesting.
I'll be completely honest. I'm gonna be completely transparent. I'm a huge Indiana Jones fan. That's the only reason I'm excited for it. Its gameplay looks meh. Honestly, it kind of looks a bit slow and clunky. It'll probably be more like a puzzle solver. I even find it kind of weird that it's a first person and not third, except during certain things. But you know what? Those honestly feel like nitpicks, because for me, I love the Indiana Jones series. I even like Dial of Destiny, even though got very mixed reviews. And I'm just kind of happy that there is kind of a bigger game coming out. But this is like very much like, yeah, this is a nostalgia pick for me. Like, nothing really about the game screams phenomenal for me. Nothing from like, I mean, there were some funny moments from the trailers, and I think I enjoy the writing of it. But there's nothing really that's been like super blown up, that's like really blown me away about it, other than just like it's the IP that I love. I won't hark on it too much, other than like, yeah, that's why I'm excited for that, because growing up, these were like the Indiana Jones movies were like what got me to become such a big film nerd, and now there's a video game about it, and I'm just praying that it harkens back more towards the Raiders and the Temple of Doom and the Last Crusades more than kind of the more recent Indiana Jones. So that's kind of all I'll really get on with that game. I am very excited, and also I think it's very well voiced, and obviously it's a great score because it's Indiana Jones. It's the same theme, we're basically the same theme. But I won't hark on it too much, because really, even though like we've seen a couple trailers and like some gameplay of it, it's not really clear. It hasn't been like a very long extended. Anytime we see gameplay, it's always like kind of quick flashes. It's never been like a full like demo or anything like that. So, I'll hold my judgment, but I'm really optimistic, and I'm really hoping that this is like something special, just because of how much I love that IP.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I mean, like, I think I'm also excited for Indiana Jones. One, it's being made by Machine Games, which they're previously responsible for the recent Wolfenstein entries, which all have like really good like writing and characters, and just like you could enjoy, if even without like the really solid gunplay of those games, you can also just enjoy those games for just their stories. So I think they're perfect. They're the perfect pick for Indiana Jones. I think a lot of the criticism I've seen a lot towards the action is it's more slower moving and a little bit more awkward in movement. But I think that is harkening back to when these movies were originally made. I think that's a purposeful decision. That's why you're not seeing Indiana Jones doing like crouch slides and tack reloads and shit in the gameplay. A lot of the gameplay moments when they do show them is like he's doing fisticuffs with Nazis, he's using his whip, or he's solving some sort of like ancient puzzle. And I think
He's more of a professor than a fighter, right? Or researcher.
He's a fighter.
He can be a fighter. Yeah.
He's just not very tactical. He's a brawler by just nature.
Okay.
If you go back and watch all the
I've only seen the first movie.
All of them,
Well,
like, go back. All he does is really just like it's just a bare knuckle brawl. He'll just grab the shirt of the other guy, and then the other guy will grab his shirt, and they just start punching each other. And then eventually, something in the environment will show up, and Indy will use that and win the fight. That's how every single fight goes. Is they'll start punching. Indy gets knocked down. He picks up a rock and he hits him, and then the guy falls in like an anthill or something, and then dies, or he falls into a propeller blade. Indy just loves using the environment, and that's how he kills people.
And I think like that's where the gameplay is going with it is like I think a lot of people are used to action how it is now in like a lot of video games, but also in a lot of movies where it's fast, it's heavily choreographed. Whereas I feel like it's a purposeful decision with this game is to emulate the movies like Raiders of the Lost Ark, like Temple of Doom, where the action is like I said, these are real people and they're like grappling with each other. And this is like sort of like the early days of the Hollywood action blockbuster. So it's very awkward with like how they're grappling with each other, you know? And it's just like in a way it's more visceral, it's more well not visceral but like it's more prone to like the awkwardness of like fighting and action. One thing that I know some people criticize but I think does speak true to the spirit of the films is where Indy is fighting the one Nazi dude, and then the one there's like another Nazi guy who gets hit by a crate that starts sliding down. They both like look at each other and then just like let go and let the guy fall off like the ship, and then like Indy just looks at him and he just kind of like laughs and then immediately starts punching him again. And I'm like, that's pretty true to the films.
That's really Indiana Jones. Just you let the environment take him out.
Yeah, and so it's like it's you got to approach this when I think the thing that people need to understand if they actually want to like try to enjoy this game is you shouldn't. I feel like what they're trying to say is you shouldn't come into Indiana Jones and the Great Circle expecting Call of Duty or even Wolfenstein like they had made previously. You should come in expecting the game that's going to be a balance of story and humor and ancient lore and history and some good old brawling beat 'em up stuff where you kick the shit out of Nazis. And it's like it's not going to be just one thing. It's going to be a lot of these different elements. So I'm excited for it too.
Yeah. The one thing I am hopeful for that I haven't really seen too much, I hope like you said, in the cutscene it was cool. It was funny when like the dude got taken out of the crate. I do hope there is like in gameplay a lot of like either environmental takedowns or like, you know, you could maybe throw the whip on a box and throw it on somebody. Like, I hope there's a lot of stuff you can do with the environment, because that is like half the fun with Indiana Jones is like he fights kind of with his setting.
Yeah,
so
I feel like I've seen hope. When they did the first reveal trailer and showed gameplay, there was like things like that. Like I remember very distinctly there was like thing where it's like Indy is sneaking around and he knocks out a Nazi by picking up like a hammer in the environment and just throwing it and hitting him like ding right at the helmet, and just like the dude falls over. Or like him using a whip to like he like wraps around like their legs and like trips them up and stuff like that. It's like I think I'm more interested in that kind of gameplay than just, you know, have him just go in there and shoot him up. Because if he just goes in there and shoots him up, it's another Call of Duty, you know?
No, really, Indy doesn't use a gun through a lot of like he has one and he'll occasionally like fire his gun,
like
but,
like the sword scene. But
yeah, he'll do that. But like 90% of Indiana Jones fights is him losing his firearm, having to fight, and then maybe picking someone else's up and then using that one. He doesn't use his a lot. He loses it a lot, and then we'll like find it like at the very end of the fight. So yeah, I'm excited for that, but I'm still kind of like keeping an eye out on it. But that's really like the big ones that like I was thinking of. Randy, what else are you looking forward to?
Well, we have still another Ubisoft, so who knows? It could be shit. But it looked good. Star Wars Outlaws.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
So
and that's all we have to Star Wars
Outlaws. Star Wars Outlaws, you're playing as Kay Vess, a bounty hunter. So interesting. We get to play a Star Wars game, but no Jedi. I swear, if we run into a Jedi, I'm gonna be pissed.
I think last time I asked you about this game, you said, and I'm pretty sure you said, quote, if I see anyone turn a lightsaber on, I'm turning it off. I'm turning the game off.
I don't want to see it. As much as I love Jedi, like Jedi Survivor, Jedi Fallen Order, good, delicious. I would love more. Respawn, get working on it. I know you are. But I want different flavors. Give me a different flavor. Give me, like I said, give me Star Wars about a bounty hunter, which like we've had in the past, but they were even like before I started playing video games, really.
Mm-hmm.
So to have this modern, like they say, first truly open world game, we'll see how much it goes and how much of it's just kind of like, oh, is it just like little planetary hubs and that's it? But from what they showed, it looks really fun. Dogfighting looks suitable. Like it's not, Star Wars Squadrons, but
Yeah.
Star Wars Squadrons was a dedicated like
To
flying,
just a flight
dogfighting
yeah.
game.
I mean, it's an open world game that, like, yeah, I feel like they can't like commit all their resources to just one element. I think I'm more impressed with the fact that, at least from the way it looked like, you saw her get in her ship, take off, and immediately was floating around in space, and there was like no load screen in between.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
That
very
was
much a
impressive.
disguised load screen. It's just like as you like part through the clouds, that's the loading, but it's not a static screen or something that you're looking at.
Yeah.
And so like it's just Ubisoft, like that's one thing. Ubisoft's like data streaming like in and out of stuff is like insane. I mean, they showed that off like in a tech demo, I remember like way back when. And then the first time we kind of saw it in games and stuff was probably Assassin's Creed Origins, with being able to be like, all right, you're using your bird, kind of like a fancy bird drone.
Yeah.
Side note, I'm glad we're getting rid of it. But at the
Yeah.
time, it was cool to where like you
I
would
like
go up
the
into that
bird.
and then seamlessly come like right back to Bayek. So it's just like that's one thing. Ubisoft's like data streaming tech, pretty damn good. But it looks really fun, and you have this whole like reputation system depending on like what like bounty hunter guild or syndicate you're working with, and
Or against.
or against, yeah. And so it looks like I'm really interested to dive into it. The combat looked suitable, I'll say. Like it didn't look particularly amazing, but I didn't hate it either. Um,
I wanted to ask.
so
real
from
quick
from what
before
I
you-
hear from people that got their hands on it, they liked it. But
Okay.
we'll wait
I
and see.
wanted to ask you as this while you're on combat real quick, and it might just be a thing of just like looking like outside looking in, like maybe when you actually get your hands on it feels better. It something just feels off about combat, but specifically I think it might be like, and I see it a lot in takedowns. It feels like the impact is off. And I remember I like slowed it down, and it's like there's an impact like when she punches someone's head, and like before her fist hit them, his head's already back. But like she barely taps him on the nose, and it's also like it's kind of also weird with the gameplay. It's very nitpicky, I know, but I even noticed this like in the first like the very first like gameplay showing, which is like it feels like when you hit an enemy, it just something's off about it. And maybe it's just me, and maybe it's just like again, when you actually get your hands on it, it feels better. Like when you're actually playing it versus when you're just watching. But I don't. Maybe I'm crazy. Do you guys know what I'm talking about, or am I just kind of spitting at nothing here?
I'm honestly watching a lot of the gameplay of it. I remember feeling like that with the first time they showed this game off, which was like last year, I want to
Yeah.
say.
I think it was. Last year. It was like early last.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember feeling like that, but I don't really get too much of that vibe now. I don't know. Like it to me watching it like this time around, personally for me, didn't really bother me much with like the combat. I don't know. It's blaster shooting. How much more like,
How
she
much more
takes her
visceral
gun-
do you need it?
Yeah, she takes out the gun, she shoots the guy goes down. It's like how much more? I think what's more interesting is like it does seem like that there's a lot of like skills that you can unlock to get it more interesting. Like they talked about, oh, she's trying to find like a gunslinger to teach her how to use her gun better, and like one of the skills it shows off is her like tagging multiple people and then doing the thing where she like quick draws it and then it just shoots down a bunch of them, which seems interesting, or like shooting from like her hover bike. Um, like I don't know, like that seems like all cool. I think the thing I seem to notice is like her in combat switching between different types of like shots. Like there seemed to be like
Yeah,
a
there's like
stun
different
shot
moments.
and then like a regular shot that kills people. And since there's a reputation system, I wonder if it's like in a way kind of promoting a sort of non-lethal thing where maybe you take less of a hit to your reputation against a faction if you try to take more of a non-lethal route or something like that, or a more stealthy route so you don't get caught. Um, I do like this. Me personally, watching some of the gameplay of it, I did like the stealth elements, particularly how much she uses her little like friend. I don't know what that thing is called. The little
I
axolotl
should
looking
know.
motherfucker.
I should know. I don't remember, but yeah.
But like it's cool that she uses it to like distract, like, oh, run up there and play dead, or it can like go up on like a light and cut it down and make it like
Yeah.
drop and knock someone out or something like that. Or it's also like the scouting device. He's like, what do you sense? And it like starts pinging enemies around her. It's like, me personally, I think that's cool. I think
No,
that's
yeah, I
probably,
agree. That looks fun.
yeah. I feel like personally, because that's just the kind of player I am, I will definitely like approach it in a more stealthy manner, which is cool. I like this idea of like the faction reputation stuff too. I think that's going to add more replay value to the game of like what factions you work with, what factions you work against. Maybe there's something there where one of the things I love about one of the game I really like to had a faction system is Fallout New Vegas. And one of my favorite things would be for me is to get in really good with like a particular faction so I can then rip them off and have them be all pissed off at me for betraying them. So like in New Vegas, I would purposely like for one faction get really close with like I would do missions for them and help them out so just so I could get close enough to like basically assassinate their leader and get out. So
Damn, that's pretty
I
cool.
yeah, I don't know if they would go that in depth with this game, but I would love to see them like, try. Uh and also like I like GTA and I think it's the perfect GTA system to basically be like you also have the Empire and if you piss off the Empire, they'll start sending STs after you, which is like okay, that's cool. That's fun.
Yeah, they'll
Um
start getting people on you.
like them and I think Death Troopers as well, which is fun.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Like it to me like it looks cool. I'm personally like I'm excited to check it out. I yeah. To me, at the very least, I don't think this game will be bad. I think there's a good chance that it will be mid, but we use mid a lot, honestly, uh, to the point where I don't think that means anything anymore. At the worst, I see Star Wars Outlaws being like a 6 or a 7 out of 10 game, you know, like another Starfield, where it's like it's not like bad, but it's not like anything outstanding either. Like I feel safe in saying like that's probably going to be the worst it gets.
I can. I hope it doesn't have that,
Yeah.
but yeah,
Of course
I
not.
see it.
mean, yeah, we
I
want it to
see
be
it
better
being
than
maybe
that.
a 7 to 8. I like. I'm already not keeping my expectations to be like it's gonna be a 10 out of 10 game. I'm like I don't know. It's probably gonna be like a 7 or an 8, but like I'll play it because I'm a Star Wars fucking shill.
Yeah.
So
Here, I would say that's a good question. And the last thing I'll probably say on that is, if this if this wasn't Stormtroopers, if this hadn't the name Star Wars in it, but it was still like a galaxy bounty hunter, and you're pissing off like the factions and it looks everything gameplay, would you guys be like nearly even half as excited?
Would be. I'll be honest, I would be. Just because we don't have even then we don't have a lot of like, especially with the faction system, because we don't have a lot of like really spacefaring open world like crime world focused games out there. There's just not a lot. The closest thing I could think to is maybe Starfield, and even in Starfield, it doesn't really get that in depth. Like you can kind of like the best way I could describe it is you can kind of cosplay it, where like you can work with the pirate faction or whatever, but it's not like that in depth with it, where there's like a whole faction reputation system. So I would personally say I would still be excited for this game, even if it wasn't Star Wars.
yeah, I think I'd be excited, but maybe not as excited. Just because,
Yeah.
like, when new IP comes out, you're always a little worried about it, or like you can always maybe be cautious with it, just depending on the studio, I guess.
Maybe it's not worried, but like not knowing what to expect exactly from
Yeah.
it.
Yeah,
Because
maybe that's a better way to put it.
yeah, because like if this was called something else, like if it was just called Space Outlaws or something like that, we'd be like, okay, I don't know what to expect from this world, but like it looks interesting in terms of like gameplay. Um, if anything, if it was called a Star Wars game, it probably wouldn't have as much pressure put onto it. Then people would
Yeah.
honestly, people might look more positively on it if it was a Star Wars game, because if there's one thing I've learned is that fans are fucking obnoxious and they hyper analyze the shit out of stuff.
True.
And I think that's sadly the problem with anyone coming out with a Star Wars game. I remember Jedi Fallen Order getting that like too when it came out, was starting to come out, because there was so many people who were just like, but his lightsaber's not dismembering anybody, it's just a baseball bat. It's like, well, it was still a good fucking game.
Yeah.
So yeah, Star Wars fans are annoying. I just want to put that out
Facts.
there. In general, fans are annoying. You guys hyper analyze the shit out of stuff, and I think one of your problems is that
Absolutely, don't lump me in with them. I say
Yeah.
with my Star Wars tattoo. Don't lump me in with those ones.
Yeah.
Randy is, I am a fan of Star Wars, but I am not part of
I'm a fan
the
and enough
Star
of a
Wars
fan to
fandom.
like have it literally tattooed on me. But like, I'm not gonna be
wanna-
bitching about. Wait, Drew, have you watched Acolyte?
Yes.
Okay, slight Acolyte spoilers in 3, 2, 1. I'm not gonna fucking bitch about. Oh no, they made it to where 2 lesbian witches manipulated the Force so that way 2 twins could be born. It diminishes Anakin being space Jesus. Wah!
That's fine.
Shut the fuck up. Anyway,
I haven't.
I'll
seen
get
the
off my
show.
soapbox. This
That's
isn't
you-
this isn't a
what
Star
did
Wars
you-
Acolyte
Did you
podcast.
s- I'm sorry. Did someone say
I-
that's hot? Is that what I heard? I had to have heard
Yes.
that wrong.
I heard it.
You,
I heard
you
it.
said you said lesbian Force witches, and I'm
Yes.
like,
Yes.
that's hot.
Exactly. I just want Star Wars to get weirder with the Force and gayer.
Let's get gayer and hotter.
I
with
finally
Star Wars.
realized what I remember. Like in interviews before, like the show came out, people kept saying like, "This is gonna be the gayest Star Wars it's ever been," and I was kind of
Yeah, I watched the first 2 episodes and I was like, I don't know what you mean.
Yeah, you get to the
Right,
third
they're all
episode
Star
and you're
Wars.
like, I get it now. I get it. That
Yes.
makes sense. I get it now.
All right.
I also
off
hope
my,
Star Wars Outlaws is gay too. I hope it's really
Yeah,
gay.
off
Yeah,
off
that's
my
it.
soapbox about Star Wars fans.
Okay. Yeah.
But
Anyway.
yeah, don't worry. I'll have like a fan rant later when we get to the one game I really want to talk about.
Okay.
But yeah,
That
Star
might
Wars
be the next
Outlaws
one.
looks cool. It's also also one more thing I want to put out. It's crazy that it's coming out in August.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
coming out
that's wild to
soon.
me.
I
That is-
expected that
okay.
game to be further
It feels
out.
like it snuck up on me. Like I
That
was,
also,
maybe I
I'm
guess-
glad someone else said
could it be
that. I was
possible?
like, there's no like this is like a early 2025, maybe like Christmas this year. No, it's August.
Could it be possible that they started developing it before the EA exclusivity title ran out?
Oh yeah,
I'd
absolutely.
imagine they would have had to been.
Oh yeah, because
they had
like
to,
even
yeah.
before the exclusive, so whenever the news was coming out, because like EA exclusivity ran out like what 2020 or 2021. If you remember, a long time ago when Massive Entertainment, which is owned by Ubisoft, put out that like one thing on Twitter and it had like stars in the background to be like, "Hey, we're making a Star Wars game." That was before the EA had even lost its exclusive rights, and they were like, "We're making one."
I think people just knew. It was like, they're gonna lose this shit.
No one was waiting for EA's no one was waiting for EA to like drop the ball on it, which by the way, I'm still mad that EA got for almost 10 years exclusive rights to publish Star Wars games and they didn't put out a single fucking Knights of the Old Republic game.
They did kind of jacket shit with the IP. Let's be real.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is
I mean, we got
bizarre.
Battlefront 2, which got really good, and then they said, "All right, kill it."
Yeah,
We got
they
Battlefront
finally got
2
that
and-
game good, and they're like, great, it's in a good spot. Shoot it dead like a horse.
and we got that, and we did
Off
get
the Battlefield minds of you.
Yeah, and then also we got Battlefront 2 and we got like Jedi Fallen Order and Jedi Survivor.
We did get the
But
Jedi
that's like all they did with
Fallen
the
series.
IP though.
I know, which is bizarre. Like, and Squadrons is also pretty damn
Oh,
good
yeah,
I
too.
like
yeah.
Squad.
Squadrons is good. It's underappreciated.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like I said, it's just weird off-topic rant, but it's like it's weird that EA. I imagine because like I don't think Disney was like, oh man, we really need someone to develop games. I imagine they were like, EA, you want to do it? Spend us this much money, and they did, and it's just like, cool, we're not going to do anything with it.
I think Disney was like, we need someone to do it, and EA just happened to push the buzzer first.
I guess so, yeah. But it's so weird. I much prefer this era where it's like no one gets exclusive publishing rights, and it seems to be like people just go to Lucas Arts now, and they're like, "We want to make a Star Wars game," and they're like, "All right, fuck yeah, show us what you got."
Bet.
Yeah. Alright. And we'll see if it's any good or not. But that's not the only game coming out in the future. That was Rainy that just did that one. So Robert,
Yes.
do you have any more that you want to talk about? We're starting to
Yeah.
run dry on the list.
Yeah, speaking of shitty fans, Sonic X Shadow Generations.
Oh God,
Oh, yeah.
I forgot about that.
Dude,
Oh,
they,
it's
the
not
fact
shitty,
they knew,
man.
they knew
I-
what
wait,
they were
actually,
doing
yeah,
when
they
they
are shitty,
did
man.
that.
Drew, you
I
have
did not
not seen
forget.
Sonic fans.
No, I
You have
know what
not
they are.
fucking seen Sonic
I try to
fans.
avoid them, Robert. There's a difference. I've
Sorry,
seen
when
Knew
I
what they
them.
were doing when they
I've
needed
seen
that.
I've seen them, and I went the other way. I'm very aware, but I know what they
I think-
are.
My impression of Sonic fans are a little bit more positive because it's mostly just Tim Geddes and Blessing from fucking Kinda Funny, which shout out to those guys. They're the only
That's
people I
fair.
can listen to talk about Sonic, and I could stand what they're saying.
There's two types of
Um,
Sonic fans. There's like, and like it's gonna sound weird me saying it. It's literally just like cringe and base Sonic fans. The base Sonic fans are hilarious. Like that's like Life Arrow, like the YouTuber, and
Because
like
they know it's shit and they love it.
And
They
they
just eat
love
that
it
shit
'cause
up.
it's
It's just
shit.
like
And they fucking love
it's like
that
it's
shit.
garbage. I want more of this
Yeah.
garbage.
Hey, there's
Give it to
nothing
me.
wrong with
Stupid.
delicious garbage.
Yeah.
It's like
And
the
then-
Fast and Furious series. Delicious garbage.
And then there's the other ones that I wish they didn't know how to draw. Like, can I say that? You know what I mean?
No,
Like,
that's fair. You just end it there. I wish they didn't know how
I
to
wish
draw.
they did not know how to draw. I wish they were really bad at draw. Some of them are, but I just wish they didn't know how to draw.
I'm
but
just
yeah,
glad
the
that
new
I'm
game,
dating
yeah,
one
sorry,
of the ones
Robert.
that's based and knows how to draw, so it's not fucking terrible.
Oh,
Yeah,
the
that's
perfect
fine.
mix.
Yeah, Basin knows how to
Drew,
draw.
if I-
Sonic fan.
Drew,
But-
if I could, yes, perfect. You know, I couldn't find fan art of Big Knee Amy, but I found Big Feet Amy. If I sent you this fan art, can we please use this as the thumbnail?
Fuck no. Of course not. Fuck no. I'm
Just
not doing
insert
that.
it in here, please.
Hell
So
no.
a long time ago, I was fascinated by this DeviantArt person named
you were
Big Knee Lover.
Big Feet
Big-
Amy?
No. So that first off, Big Feet Amy is the name of the art piece, not the name of the artist. I'm going to
okay.
point that out.
Okay.
Big Knee.
Put
Shout out
respect
to
on it.
Shout out to Funhouse, rip in peace. They used to have a segment on their podcast where they would deep dive into the internet, and one that they would continuously update us about was a deviant artist they found named Big Knee Lover. And Big Knee Lover would always draw a lot of characters. I seem to remember a lot of Sonic characters with massive kneecaps. I'm talking like giant. Like they're like giant water balloons just hanging down to their fucking feet. It was disgusting.
I think I remember
It-
this fucking shit.
They
and
commit
it-
to the bit.
And no, but there was so many. I don't think Big
I
Knee
don't think
Lover
it's
is
a
out
bit.
there.
No,
Yeah.
it's not a bit. It's a
Big
fetish.
knee lover. If you're out there, let us know. If you're listening.
There he is. He's still there. Oh, thank God. Sorry, I'm on my computer. I found Big Knee Lover. Hey, it's that one person from Guilty Gear with the cat costume.
I have no idea. Fuck.
Oh my god. Okay. Robert, did you have anything to say about the actual video game?
Yeah,
or did you just
I
want to get us
actually
on this
did.
tangent? Okay, cool. Do it now.
Surprisingly
before we-
enough, I actually wanted to talk about the video
Yeah,
game.
go now
looks
before we
fucking
keep
cool.
talking about Sonic fans. Just go.
We are going back to the 2000s and we're celebrating it.
Woo.
Shadow is back and he looks fucking cool.
Yeah.
People have already been making AMVs of the trailer.
Oh boy, back in the 2000s
We are
indeed.
going-
Bro, I need.
We are
what's
going
that
the
song?
fuck back.
Dude, where's the fucking Nightcore mix of Linkin Park? Where is it? Over
It's
Sonic.
coming. Lytheros probably already made it, but
He's working on it. He's cooking right now. Oh,
no, the game looks cool. They're bringing back more stages. Fucking what? The Canyon from Sonic Heroes,
yeah.
Radical Highway from Sonic Adventure 2. Fucking Black Doom is coming back.
Jeez, I forgot that's his actual name.
Oh yeah. Oh
He's
yeah.
I
not
can't wait
getting
till this
guns
game
because
gets
the
edited
Shadow
to
is a
Feel
weapon
Invincible
himself.
by Skillet. Like, that's gonna happen day one.
Oh my god, I'm ready.
I'm so-
My soul.
Oh my god.
No, like the Shadow stuff looks legitimately cool. We've seen like some gameplay of like people playing through some of the stages. It looks really fun to play. They
Yeah.
definitely make Shadow feel like,
Yeah,
cool
because
as
like it's
fuck.
basically a
It's a remaster.
It's a remaster of Sonic Generations, which I did play. Fucking goated game.
Yeah.
And then it's like added Shadow stuff basically.
Yeah.
And so
And they're adding like instead of like the 2D like hub world, he's getting a hub world that's kind of like Force Frontiers, where it's kind of more open world 3D.
That's cool.
Yeah, I've heard like a lot of comparisons that this game is to Sonic what Super Mario 3D World Bowser's Fury was.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of that kind of comparison, and honestly, that kind of tracks.
Yeah, so I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, all jokes aside, and like all the edgy AMVs aside, they actually did make Shadow look really cool. That one, like, I don't know if it's super just like a cinematic when you get to the stage, or when like he goes so fast and like kicks the missile back at him, like he cuts it all up and then kicks it back. I was like, that's
You can
cool.
use chaos control mid combat.
Yeah,
And there was
that's-
also like
that's pretty cool.
I also really liked the level where it showed like sort of like it was doing the Doctor Strange thing where like the city is like kind of like sort of folding in on itself or whatever as he's running forward. It's like look cool as shit too. The only thing is I've heard some people do some of the hands-on demos with it and they seem to enjoy it, but I've heard that like for some reason they've actually run into some performance hiccups and issues while playing it, which is
Fucking
like
how?
Demoed on Switch. I'm
well,
pretty sure they demoed on Switch.
no, because Blessing and Tim specifically said they were playing on the PS5.
yeah, I watched
Huh.
the same like
Okay.
thing
Yeah.
that you're talking
Yeah.
about. They were
They
like,
were-
yeah, I played on PS5 and shit
There's
slowed down.
performance issues.
And
It's just like
I'm like, fucking how?
Yeah.
it's like this game came out 14 years ago. How is it like running slow on
Why
the
is it-
fucking
Might
PS5?
be the
How is this
Shadow
one
stuff.
overdosed the PS5?
Frontiers also had performance issues, so if they're doing the Frontiers engine, well, that kind of tracks.
Oh Lord.
Yeah.
But other than that, I mean, like, I think it's a good time. I think it's fun. I also think it times very well with like the third Sonic movie, which I don't know if they've dropped a full trailer for it yet, but I apparently
we thought
like
they were gonna do it this week.
but yeah, it's gonna have like I mean, it's pretty much confirmed at this point, right? That it's gonna be Shadow, like Keanu
It's,
Reeves as
yeah,
Shadow.
it's that's been
I don't know if
confirmed.
they've
That's
confirmed Keanu Reeves as
No,
Shadow.
they did.
People have said, like,
It's been confirmed.
officially.
yeah.
I don't think I saw an official account say that. I just thought
I
it
saw a
was
lot of like
heavily.
I guess to be fair, I saw a lot of game articles say that it was confirmed. And I just kind of went off that.
The articles versus Sega saying it are two entirely different things. That's
Maybe.
You know,
kinda
Drew
why
saw a
I-
headline.
Yeah. Why
So
read
that's
an
why- I've
article?
been
Why
doing
ever?
more-
Yeah, you just need to read the first headline because that's all journalism is just a headline. There's not actually anything in the columns.
Just a
Like-
catchy headline, and then you open it up, and it's written by AI.
Yeah, exactly. That's all our
Yeah,
job
I'm
is.
seeing- Okay, to me these are pretty reliable sources like Variety and Hollywood Reporter. Like listen, they might do some gossipy stuff, but when it comes to movie castings and stuff, they're pretty spot on.
Okay.
Yeah, so like I feel like yeah, no, you are getting Keanu Reeves as fucking Shadow Shadow.
I mean, I could see it working.
That's metal as fuck.
Just
That's
give him a gun.
That actually makes
They already
sense.
gave
That
Shadow
is
a gun
major part
once.
of it
I mean,
because
they
the
honestly,
logo
you
has
joke.
It's
Yeah,
the
even
SO2 logo basically.
yeah, even IMDb has them already. Same with Idris Elba and everyone.
Okay.
But you joke, they're almost because every single one of those like Sonic movies jokes about like its fan base and like the dumb memes behind the characters. Like even the first one had a reference to Sonic, the really bad drawn Sonic. Uh,
Dude, fucking Sonic.
yeah, the second one like really leaned hard into the memes of like Knuckles just being a complete idiot. And so like I guarantee
Like the recent TV series too. With like, I think the Knuckles TV series
Well,
also
that's-
did a lot of the same stuff there too.
I mean, just all of like Knuckles, since like for a very long time, has just lowered in intelligence the more media things he's put into. There was a point because he got tricked once by Eggman, and then people just took that and just like kept lowering his IQ every time he appears on screen. But
That's fun.
I almost certainly bet that like there will be a reference to Shadow using a gun, and someone will make fun of it, and they'll literally go, "You're the second fastest thing alive. Why do you need a firearm?" And then he'll say some edgy line and then run off.
No, I already can predict it's going to be a Matrix reference where it's going to
Yeah,
be
that's-
because it's going to be
that's-
Keanu Reeves.
Yeah,
He's going to be I'm going to
yeah.
need guns,
Yeah.
lots of.
He'll do
guns.
like the Neo thing where like for some reason he's wearing a trench coat and like pull him out and like he's standing behind Colin and then
That's
do
why
the
he was
swan
perfect to be
dive
the voice
forward and
actor
shoot.
for Shadow. Like he's perfect. Like Shadow the Hedgehog, the original Shadow the Hedgehog game, like it has so much of those like the Matrix like edgy kind of like 90s trench coat vibes to it.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. That's what Shadow is.
While they're at it, they need to release the cut of Shadow where they have all the fucks thrown in.
Oh yeah, that's cool.
I don't know if you're getting that from this game or that movie, but maybe. Who can say?
No, I remember. I think it was fucking the guy who voiced Shadow and Shadow the Hedgehog. He went like he like this is recorded somewhere. He said that like for the game, they were wanting it to be rated higher than like E10 or T, so they had him record like fuck in a lot of lines. Like they say fuck a lot in some alternate cut.
Where
of Shadow
is
the
this?
Hedgehog.
I
Sitting
need it.
like in fucking Sega's basement, rotting
Yeah.
on a hard drive.
That's awesome.
Mr.
Based.
President, I'm leaving to fucking kill Sonic.
Where is that fucking fourth Chaos Emerald?
Yeah, exactly. Where's that fucking foot?
That is exceptionally based.
That's
Find
so
the fucking
good.
computer room.
Oh my god, that's beautiful. Jeez, I'm about to start crying. Okay.
One of my favorite things about like
Okay,
the
we're
fan
still
base too
going.
is like the fan dubs of like Shadow. Like my favorite video is I think it's pulled from like the Sonic Prime Netflix series. But they dub over it. It's just like Shadow, why'd you take my passport? It's like, what can I say, Sonic? I love Latinas, and it just like plays like a da 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 or whatever, and he just runs off.
We gotta move on. I'm sorry. We gotta go somewhere else. We gotta talk about a different
We
game.
gotta go fast.
Randy, Randy, can we talk about Dark Age or Dragon Age? I can't talk right now. Talk about the
Is
Well,
it
actually,
Randy's
I
turn
was-
or my turn?
Or I'm sorry.
Yeah, who's
Oh,
starting?
no, you're fine. I'm sorry. I got mixed up.
Fucking flip a coin and go with it.
Well, it's because you guys. I thought you both were referencing the game. That's why I got confused on the order.
Yeah.
My fault, Seth. Yeah, Seth, it's your turn.
Yeah.
You don't actually have to talk about Dragon Age if there's other stuff you want to talk about.
No, I feel like we need to get into it now, because I feel like out of all of us, I think it's safe to say I am the biggest Dragon Age fan because I played through all three of them.
I don't know,
And,
Seth.
I'm working on
yeah.
it.
I'm
Thanks
a
for
pretty
the
big fan
copies,
of that
Seth.
game.
Look, Randy, I know you sent the meme to us, but like just to clarify to our audience, one of my favorite things is the meme of like it's Baldur's Gate 3 on the one side and Dragon Age on the other side, and it's like the illusion of choice, and it all leads to like LGBTQ plus, and it's just like
Hey.
it's like that's what playing Dragon Age and Baldur's Gate is just like it's a pipeline to gayness, which is awesome.
Dang. I guess I.
No, so context. Dragon Age. Dragon Age Inquisition came out in 2014. Its last story DLC came out in 2015. We have been deprived of Dragon Age content for 9 years from BioWare, uh, largely because they went all in on Anthem. Anthem did not pan out, and they have been
That's for sure.
pivoting. Yeah, and they've been pivoting to getting back to their classic series. So I guess you could call them classic now, like Mass Effect and Dragon Age. And my God, it's been for me personally, it's been heartbreaking to kind of see BioWare like basically go through this. Like there's been lots of layoffs. They tried to like revive Anthem, and basically EA said like we just don't think this is feasible, and they killed off that plan. And they've lost a lot of people over there, and it's kind of felt like I think it's safe to say that the BioWare that you knew, like back in like the late 2000s, the early 2010s, when they were putting out Mass Effect and when they were putting out the other Dragon Age games, because of how much time has passed and how many people have come and gone from that company, that BioWare does not exist. This is a different generation of BioWare, and I think this BioWare is hungry to prove themselves. I hate doing this because I think it's stupid, but I hate to say it, but there is a lot riding, I think, on this game to be good, Dragon Age, and I think it's trying to figure out what the identity of this BioWare is going to be going forward, and I think that's what hinges a lot on Veilguard, the newest Dragon Age game, and honestly, I was the reason I say all this is because I was hyper skeptical about how Dragon Age is going to look. And after the preview that they showed, I'm not going to talk about the reveal trailer at the Xbox showcase because I know people like me personally. I think a lot of people really overreacted to that trailer, but whatever. Gamer fans are fucking stupid. But I genuinely think that I wasn't particularly blown away by it, but I think the gameplay demo looked promising for Dragon Age Veilguard. Um, in terms of like tone, it looks like it is a continuation of Inquisition. Um, Randy, since you're a new fan, if you can't beat all the Dragon Age games, I really think you need to at least get through Inquisition before you touch Veilguard. Because
Okay.
like straight
When is
up,
Veilguard set for release again? Or did
uh,
it get a date?
they
Or is
they
it
just said
this year?
they just said fall 2024, I think. So we don't really have like a set date. So that could
But
be
soon-ish, considering we're
Yeah.
in summer.
Yeah, so and granted, one of the strengths of like the Dragon Age series is that each game is sort of standalone where they make some references and stuff to the other ones, but for the most part they're focused on new cast of characters. But the demo to this, one visually, I will say visually, this looks really good. It's a lot of people are decrying it because it's like, oh, it looks exaggerated and it looks like cartoony. And I'm like, bitch, so did Dragon Age 2. And Dragon Age 2 visually holds up way better than Origins. Fight me. Anyways, sorry if I sound really aggressive because like the Dragon Age fan base, we've
You're
been
just
pining.
passionate, man.
Yeah, no, it's more I'm pissed off with the fan base behind this because here's the thing. Each Dragon Age has always been it's kind of its own thing. Um Origins was that like sort of classic older like style Baldur's Gate kind of gameplay where heavy role-playing elements, more of a darker, grittier kind of style storytelling, and also real-time with pause combat. Then you get to Dragon Age 2, and then Dragon Age 2 is like it's more stylized. It's a little bit more lighthearted, although there are a lot of darker elements to it. And it also has a more graphic novel look to its like art style. And then you get to Inquisition, and then Inquisition is trying to like meld together the more action focused gameplay of Dragon Age 2 with some of the more tactical elements of Origins and kind of mishmash it together in Inquisition. And at the time, that was when they were going heavy with Frostbite, and they really needed to like emphasize like, look, you could see the fucking sweat pores on Varric's chest hair. Weird. But
Randy, this
what
is
I-
your
what I'm
turn
getting
to
at-
say hot, by the way.
I hope the audio came through on that.
I didn't hear him.
I think I heard vaguely something.
Yeah.
It was just muffled, just hot.
Nice.
Nice.
Very nice. But Veilguard, the best way I can describe it is that it basically, the Dragon Age series has completed its transformation into Mass Effect, into fantasy Mass Effect. We know that you will only have 2 active party members instead of 3, like usual in Dragon Age. It doesn't seem like you won't be able to control your party members individually, but you'll be able to like pull up like an ability wheel in combat, a lot like Mass Effect, and make commands off of that. I'm okay with that. Like, I think one of the issues is that a lot of people are looking at Veilguard and they want Baldur's Gate 3. I think it's hard to deny that, like, since Baldur's Gate 3 has come out, it's been a big conversation of it sort of like setting the standard of what not just a fantasy RPG game should be, but what a video game should be in terms of quality. But I think people are taking the wrong lessons from it. I think there are a lot of fans out there who want basically the next Dragon Age game to be just Baldur's Gate. The next Baldur's Gate game is what they want. And the problem there is, don't get me wrong, I think there are lessons to learn from Baldur's Gate 3 in terms of like the level of quality that they bring to their story and to their quest design and all this stuff. But I think there's more than one way to pardon this phrase, but to skin a cat. I think there's more than one way to make a fantasy RPG. And I think if BioWare is electing to try out a more action-focused game that is very much more gameplay-wise aligned with their Mass Effect series, then let them do that. Let them try it out. Because I don't want the exact same thing. I want Baldur's Gate to be Baldur's Gate, and I want Dragon Age to be Dragon Age. Also, like, for fans out there who are crying like, man, this game isn't dark and gritty anymore, it's not like the tactics driven stuff like Origins was. Bro, only one game in this series now has been like that, and that was Origins. Why, if you hate that so much, why have you stuck with this series for so long in 2 other games? It's just like, you need to get the fuck over yourself. So yeah, I'm sorry I've turned this more into like hating on fans, but I'm just irritated with it. Like, it's just like there's a such thing as I have a good healthy skepticism about this game, and then just like, you want this game to be the thing that's in your head. You don't care what it actually is in front of you. Instead of trying, like, I feel like you would appreciate a game more if you accept it for what it is instead of trying to force it into the game that's in your head. Like, this doesn't go just for Dragon Age. It's just for everything in general. Your life will be a lot easier. Instead of complaining about Dragon Age or something like that, I don't know, go play more Baldur's Gate if you love it that much. Go touch grass. I don't fucking care.
You're right, Seth.
you can join
Baldur's Gate fans
hundreds
are
of
the
hours.
problem. That's what I'm
Join
not.
me by hundreds of hours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's their fault. No, I'm joking. Obviously.
But, yeah,
that's
and I'm
amazing.
but okay, I think I'm done ranting. I think I made my point pretty clear, is that, like, I think there you have good reason to be skeptical about this game, absolutely, but there's also just outright hating it and wishing it to be a game that just doesn't exist. Anywho, getting back to the actual gameplay, I really like just the city that they shown. It's this weird, like, just the art design alone like fascinates me. It's like a weird combination of cyberpunk neon streets with magic, which is like cool as shit looking.
I'm saying,
to
look
me.
dope.
Yeah.
As someone who's just now getting into the series, I'm like, that looks fun as hell.
And one of the things with Dragon Age, Randy, you can speak to this too, is the world of Thetis very discriminatory against mages. There is one place that is not like that, and that is the Tevinter Imperium, which is more magic focused. So this is a magic focused realm. Their whole society is built around that, and the city looks awesome. Like already, like this looks like nothing we've ever seen before in Dragon Age. Like we've only gotten hints of this kind of shit of people talking about it in the previous games, and just to see it like that looks cool as shit. I feel like I can tack on more stuff, but I want to let Randy talk too, because I know I've gone on long and I spent most of it just bitching. So
I'll be
Randy,
honest, I won't have like a whole lot to say because I've only just now started playing the first game. I understand like a bit of the like outside perspective, just because like after putting entirely too many hours into Baldur's Gate, I was kind of like itching for the next like fantasy RPG, and that's when Seth was like, "Play Baldur's Gate, or not Baldur's Gate. Don't play it again. You have too many hours."
That
that's
was
the
your
voice in
own
my
in your
head.
head of just play Baldur's Gate again.
Randy just took over there, for example.
Yeah,
his
no.
like his instincts.
Randy got possessed. I haven't played Baldur's
Yeah,
Gate.
no, he was saying
Players
play
games.
Dragon Age, and I mean he's brought up Dragon Age before to me because I'm a huge fan of Mass Effect, and he's like, well, if you like Mass Effect, go and try like Dragon Age 2. But honestly, up until Baldur's Gate, I wasn't the biggest fan of fantasy settings. Like I liked sci-fi more than like high fantasy and stuff like that. But just Baldur's Gate hooked me into it, and now I'm kind of like, all right, let's see what other cool high fantasy things we can do. And so, I mean, I'm looking forward to it as a pretty new player. I'll try and beat all of them, or at least do a single playthrough. Maybe not beat, but like try and do a playthrough of each of these before Veilguard comes out. But who knows? It might be I get a little bit into one and I go, okay, I appreciate it for what it is. It's a little dated. I'm gonna go on to the next one.
I think
we'll
that's
see.
absolutely fair. Yeah.
Yeah. I will say also, Randy, I don't think you're alone in the opinion of like Baldur's Gate came out and it was like the huge success that it was, and I think when they also like announced like, hey, we're not going to be doing like expanded DLC,
Gonna be doing expansions or
yeah, or
DLCs.
DLC or anything, or like we're not going to say like, hey, we're working on 4 immediately or anything like that. I think a lot of people, while understanding, really like had that itch of just like, this was such a unique experience. I want more of this. And I think that it's a lot of those fans that like saw Dragon Age as like the next opportunity for it. And I think what Seth was trying to get at is like, that's not what Dragon Age is really. And that's not what like this new game is like really trying to do. So it's an interesting thing that like a lot of people want this to be reshaded Baldur's Gate, but I don't think that's what it is or what it should be either.
No, I mean, even watching the gameplay, I was just like, yeah, that's not Baldur's Gate. I immediately saw it, as Seth said, as fantasy Mass Effect. But like,
Yeah.
I'm down for that. I love Mass Effect. So
Oh yeah. And I think like that there's a lot to be excited about this. Like in general, I think the strengths of Dragon Age has not really been its gameplay. It can be fun and you can really get into it, but I don't think it's the gameplay was Dragon Age's strength. And you could probably say that about honestly a lot of BioWare games where it's not the gameplay, it's
Fair.
the strength, it's the story. Because like I personally love the gameplay of Mass Effect, but I know like for example Drew has talked about it where he's like, yeah, I'm sort of like take it or leave it with Mass Effect.
yeah, he's like, I can do the
gameplay.
I mean-
gameplay.
Yeah, in terms of
gameplay
gameplay.
wise.
Mass
Gameplay
Effect's
wise, you're
story
just like,
is
can I
amazing,
please
and
just
its
get through
character's
Mass
great.
Effect
Yeah.
1 already? I don't want to play it anymore.
I
You're like,
was
just
done
let me
with
start
Mass
at
Effect
2.
1. And Mass Effect gameplay got better over time. I want to point that out, but it still was
yeah,
never
it did.
its strong suit for me. I stayed for the story. I just want to make that clear before everyone's just like, he hated Mass Effect. What? Burn this man.
And I think that's what we want out of like a BioWare RPG. It's like we want gameplay that is just fun enough to where it's basically like, oh yeah, cool, some combat, cool, I like this. But it's more about getting to those story moments and to those characters and making those hard choices that really impacts one player's playthrough from another's. And it's like, ooh, what choice did you make here? Who did you romance? And like all that jazz. It's like that's the fun of a BioWare game, is those kinds of like relation, is like that kind of relationship that you build with that game, is like you truly do get the sense that like I am building out my own story, and it's not based on how my character build is in combat, although you can have fun with that, absolutely. It's more focused on like who did you like befriend, who did you make enemies with, what choices did you make, what part of this world fascinated you. And I think Dragon Age is more of that. um Veilguard, I feel like Veilguard is gonna like hit. I feel like Veilguard just it looks better than I was expecting, especially for something that's been in development hell for so long. And like I said, and as I mentioned before, it's shifted through so many different developers. It's to me, it's almost amazing that it's came out this way in the first place. I'm really excited. One of the things that they're doing is they're sort of bringing back origin backgrounds. Um, like after Dragon Age Origins, where you could pick a different like starting story based on the origin of your character. Dragon Age 2, you play as Hawk no matter what, so you don't really get an origin story there that you get to pick from. And then in Dragon Age Inquisition, you kind of get a bit of a backstory based on like what race and what class you kind of pick, but nothing like too crazy. Like obviously, if you play as a Dalish elf, it gave you more Dalish elf dialogue options, or if you played as a Kunari, it gave you more Kunari type dialogue options. But here, they're explicitly stating things where it's like, no, you can pick a background of like a faction that you served as. In the game, they demonstrated something called the Shadow Dragons, which I don't ever recall ever before in Dragon Age. Um, they seem to be some sort of like blood mage hunters or something, which sounds dope. Don't know anything about that, but that's cool. One background I'm really fascinated about is the Grey Warden background. Dragon Age started with the Grey Wardens, so kind of bringing that back and being able to play as a Grey Warden again is kind of exciting. um Randy knows what a Grey Warden is now. Which is cool.
Does he? Do you, Randy?
Maybe not. I haven't
Okay.
gotten very far.
Oh,
He'll get there eventually.
oh, okay, maybe not. Okay,
I'll get
you
there
have to-
eventually.
yeah, you got to get out of your origin story first in Origins, and then you can get to the Grey Warden
Like I
part.
said, I am very, very early in to Dragon Age.
That's
Yeah.
fair. That's absolutely fair. But I'm excited for this game. More just like I said, I'm a big fan of this series. And I'm also trying to approach it where I am not going to try to force this Dragon Age game to be the Dragon Age game in my head. I just want to appreciate it for the game that it is. Uh, and I'm still like I said, healthy skepticism is good. There's a good chance that this game comes out and and I would hate for it to be like this, especially for the studio. But there's a chance that this game comes out and it's another Anthem, and it's like that'd be really disappointing.
Oh my god, don't even speak that into the universe.
I know. On the bright side,
Honestly, like, if it fucking flops, do you think it's the death of BioWare?
I hope not.
That was just Bioware's last hurrah.
I mean, like, well, think about it this way: BioWare, there was a big gap between Inquisition to Anthem, which was about 3 years, and then they put out Anthem, and then since Anthem, they've not put out a new game since. Technically,
Andromeda.
oh yeah, that's right, Andromeda, with the 2017, right
was also a
before
flop.
Anthem.
Yeah,
Yeah,
also
right
a flop.
before Anthem. Yeah.
Oh, they said
And,
two big
like-
hits in a row.
And then since Anthem, it's been very quiet. The only other game that they put out was a remaster. Very good remaster, but it was Legendary Edition, Mass
Yeah.
Effect Legendary Edition. And I really think this
Please forget
BioWare
about
team.
Anthem, the game.
Yeah, and it's a shame because like I said, in general, could it be the death knell of it? Could be. I'm honestly kind of surprised that EA hasn't axed them sooner. Um, which I'm just grateful for that. This isn't just speaking to Bioware. I kind of mentioned it before, but like with like Microsoft shuttering a lot of studios like Tango GameWorks, and but also the people who made Redfall. Here's the deal: I don't care if you make a bad game. I don't care if they make a good game. I don't think any studio really is. It would have to be something really bad and awful, like abuse stuff or whatever, like with like Blizzard or something. I feel like to make a studio deserving of a shutdown, even then, it's really select people that need to be punished, not everybody. I don't like the idea of studios being shut down, period, at all. And we right now the gaming industry is in a very has been in a vitriolic place for years, and it's just because of like how unsustainable it is. You can argue all about like it's the numbers, the games aren't selling well enough, yada yada yada. I don't care. You're a multi-million corporation. The only reason that the public ever bought into this idea of studios being acquired by someone like Sony, like Microsoft, like EA was that it would provide a safety net for them. But we
It
saw
rarely does.
but we saw that's a lie, like over and over. EA acts EA axes Visceral Games. Microsoft axes Tango GameWorks. And like Sony kills was it Sony Japan? I'm trying
PlayStation Studios. The SOB? No, SOB's still around, I think.
yeah, it was I remember I feel awful that I can't remember the name of the
I'm
studio,
butchering
but
the pronunciation. Yeah.
the thing about it is none of these big ass corporations is anybody's friends. And yes, they might give the resources for the marketing and whatever, but at the end of the day, they answer to their shareholders, and it is awful. I don't want this. I don't want to. It's morbid, and I do not want to play this game of like, oh, like this drama game of like, oh, if this is gonna, will this be the death knell of like Bioware? It could be. Um, but I hate it. I feel like whether it's a good or a bad studio, people shouldn't have to lose their jobs over this shit. When it comes to creating art, people need to understand that you could like there's a chance you put out something good. There's a chance you could put something out bad. No one has a 100 batting average. Not even Larian. If you think Larian has a 100 batting average, look at their early Divinity games. Not Original Sin and all that, but like some of like things like Divinity 2 and stuff like that, those games were messes. And I understand they were struggling with this stuff, but like they also had like bad ones. We have to accept that like a studio is not bad just because they put out a bad game or not. Like it happens. That's part of creation. We have to like I guess what I'm getting at is I'm tired of an industry where you put out one bad game and it's like and it kills your studio. Or in Tango GameWorks' case, you put out a really great game and you still get killed for it. Um so I just no. I'm sorry. It's I hate it, and I really hope that it isn't the death knell of it. And all I wanted to say about the healthy skepticism is like, there's always a chance that like a game can turn out bad, but it doesn't mean people should lose their jobs over it, in my opinion. Because at the end of the day, it's a fucking video game. It's a product, and if you don't like it, don't buy it. That's it. So yeah.
Well said.
Okay. Well then, with all of that, before we wrap up, I will give kind of each of you a chance to go around, say anything else that was on your list, because at least in my eyes, that was all of like the big ones that I kind of thought that would stand out. But right now, here's your chance. Forever hold your peace. Is there anything else that any other games that you're like, you were really itching to talk about before I sign us out?
I got two little I guess footnotes on this.
Okay.
First one for me is the Expedition 33 game. Cautiously optimistic about. It
Dude.
looks pretty cool.
Agreed.
Xbox JRPG. What? That's cool as fuck.
Okay.
Ben Starr being the fucking narrator for the trailer definitely helped my excitement.
Robert, I gotta ask you, like, was
Uh,
it not like the coolest thing whenever you see all this gameplay? It's like, okay, this is an interesting looking game, and then it fucking is like, hey, bitches, it's a turn-based RPG. And
Yeah.
it's like that was an insane reveal to me. I was like, I was not expecting that
Wow.
shit.
Yeah, I forgot about
Yeah,
that
it looks
one.
pretty
It
cool
had
to me.
me when I figured out it was Ben Starr doing the narration for that. Like, all right, he's pretty fucking cool. And then you see the gameplay and it's a JRPG. I'm like, oh, it's real shit. So I'm cautiously excited about it. We don't know too much besides the fact that it's a fantasy JRPG inspired game. Or I guess a lot of the developers are fans of JRPGs, not just like your Final Fantasies and stuff. A lot of like your more obscure JRPGs they're also fans of. So that leads me to think that this project's in good hands by people who legitimately want to make a really good game. So I'm hoping for the best on that one. And the other thing isn't really a game, but the Innersloth developers on the main Summer Game Fest stream coming up and saying they're making a publishing studio called Outer Sloth to help fund some indie projects is like pretty fucking based, honestly.
That that reminds me of something else that I just realized I forgot to talk about real quick. Um, that it was it was it Blumhouse the was the ones that were
Yeah,
that basically
they
announced
they
Indie horror games, yeah.
yeah, that they announced like we're not just making movies now, we're also making like indie horror games. That's cool because Blumhouse makes some pretty good horror movies.
Seth, I'm surprised you didn't bring up the Alan Wake DLC at all.
Oh yeah, I mean it's one of those passing things where it's like, of course I'm gonna play it.
Yeah.
I wanted to focus more on like the games, you know.
Yeah.
It's like the reason why I didn't dive into the Starfield DLC. It's like, yes, I'm excited for that, but like, you know, these are DLCs for stuff that of course I'm gonna play.
All right. Huh. Then I think that a couple seconds silence tells us that that's all the games.
No,
that...
I thought we were doing a round table. Like I thought you were starting
Oh.
with Robert and then.
Oh no,
Yeah.
I just opened it up to
kinda just
everyone.
jumped in.
I just
Okay.
kind of opened it up to everyone. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Do you have some stuff? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, let's shit. One of the things I really liked was we got more of a better look at the Metal Gear Solid Snake Eater remake. It looks great. I played through Metal Gear Solid Snake Eater not that long ago, about like within the past year. And I understand why it's like one of the most beloved video games out there. I think the thing that makes me the most excited for the fact is not even all the visual updates and the gameplay stuff, which looks phenomenal, but it's just the fact that like, oh, they're using all the voice lines from the original game. Fuck yeah, let's go. Because to me, it feels like they will keep intact how unfucking hinged that story gets, which is why I'm so excited for Metal Gear Solid Delta.
Ready to see some dick grabbing in 4K.
I was so like, listen, they show the boss, and it's like she's cool. I want to see Vulcan. My favorite fucking character, the most problematic character from that game is Vulcan, and I want to see more of that awful man. So yeah, I'm excited for that. Some of the other games, one game I was surprised that Drew didn't bring up, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Rita's Rewind.
Oh, God dang,
it
I
looks-
forgot about that game.
Yeah,
It's just a Shredder's Revenge but with Power Rangers. That's dope.
yeah, it basically is that. Not made by the same studio as
No.
Shredder's Revenge,
Yeah.
but it's clearly like, okay, it's doing the whole like co-op arcade beat 'em up. That's very cool. I've also been following it kind of for the meme, but it also looks like it's shaping up to be a fun game too. Is the Killer Bean game?
Oh my god.
Yeah. Like every time they show more stuff on it, it's like, Jesus Christ. I know it started as a meme, but like it's becoming more and more like interesting to look at.
This guy
Uh,
is fucking dedicated to Killer Bean, and you can't help but appreciate that.
Oh yeah, no, I have like the utmost respect for it. Another game I'm really like honestly like vibing with was Mixtape. from same people who did the Artful Escape. The mixtape looks like the Artful Escape on steroids and set in the 90s. I have been down for that ever since I played Artful Escape and then Hi-Fi Rush. I have been like, yes, give me more licensed music, focused musical type games. I fuck with that shit. And mixtape looks like a type of game that I would fuck with. Trying to look through everything else here real quick, because I know there's like at least one more that I really like.
Here, while Seth looks through his list, Randy. Oh, never mind.
One more. So the last game I want to put out, and it's not typically a game I would like go for, but it's called Wonder Stop. It looks like one of those like cozy games where it's so in this case the protagonist says like, oh, she's working at like a tea shop, so it looks almost like a Stardew Valley thing where like they're working in a small town, they're doing like this job and it's all cutesy, but then she starts like having fucking PTSD flashbacks of maybe her fighting in a war or some shit, and I'm like, and it's made by the people who I believe did the Stanley Parable. So I'm very intrigued by that, because like Stanley Parable, although I never played it, I watched playthroughs of it, and it's like has a weird, fascinating story to it. And so I feel like if someone can pull off this like cozy game vibe with like more of these darker undertones to it, tackling things like mental health issues and PTSD, I'm really intrigued to see what Wonder Stop is.
All right.
I'm honestly surprised you didn't mention Power Rangers 2, Drew. I was texting you about that, and you were like flipping out.
Yeah, I just legit. It was so early in the thing that I guess I just
That
didn't
and
write
the
it
Street
down.
Fighter DLC.
I mean, it to be fair, it does look like kind of like a small game, like how Ninja Turtles, wow, Ninja Turtles, Shredder's Revenge was. But it's one of those things where like, you know, I think back to it, there's not too many, like there's some really old ones, but there's not a lot of like Power Rangers beat 'em up, which is weird because like that's like what Power Rangers is as a show. It's just you go and you beat up grunts until you find the boss, and then you beat up the boss, and that's all the show is, and that's all a beat 'em up is. So I'm like really surprised that like there's not like a really big one until now. So yeah, no, I mean it looks cool. That's about it. I hope Johnny Owen Bosk is voicing one of the characters. I hope he's the. It is Mighty Morphin, right? That is the.
Yes.
It's this era. Okay.
It's called Mighty Morphin Power Rangers.
Well, yeah, I guess that's fair. But that's a dumb question. I'm sorry. The way I should have phrased that. I don't remember in the trailer. We don't see any other versions of the Power Rangers, right? Like they don't show like a costume.
I didn't see anything. I remember watching the trailer. It's just like it is just Mighty Morphin.
Like it just sticks to. That's what I remember too, but I didn't go back and like rewatch or anything. Like I'm pretty sure it's only the Morphin Rangers and only like the Morphin villains. Like they don't like do any. It's not like in some of the games they do like a universal time merger thing, so you can play as any version. Still though, Mighty Morphin's cool. And yeah, that's cool. Randy, I think you're the only one that hasn't said.
I got two things.
Okay, he's got two things.
I'll go quick.
Yeah.
Two things.
Right, hit us with it.
Phantom Blade Zero looks pretty cool. Looks very like animation based, but like I'm kind of down for just like
it's a real game. It's a real
It's
game.
a game.
I remember.
It exists.
I remember specifically because of Maximilian's video of like, this is a real game. I'm like, oh shit, that is a real game. Yeah. Sorry. I
it
forgot
really
about
exists.
Yeah.
It looks fun.
Yeah.
I mean, at least the animation and stuff looks like super fun. But like, from my understanding, like, it's not as much Souls-like, so maybe it'll be a little more accessible. Which
it looks
I'm
more
here for.
Ninja. It looks more like Ninja Gaiden-esque
Yeah,
in terms of like action.
Yeah.
So that looks cool.
Cool.
That's really all I have. It looks fucking cool. And then the other thing is this cute little indie game called Neva. Or it's Never. I don't know exactly how it's pronounced, but it's Neva. So Neva is how I would expect for it to sound. But pretty much, let me pull it up here. It's about a cute, little like wolf deer thing, and you go on an adventure with a girl, and I'm sure it's gonna break my heart and I'll cry, but it just looks really cute. The combat looks really fun. I don't know exactly how to put it. Like it's like indie game. It's made by the same people that made Gris, which I think if
It
I
looks
remember,
very
won a bunch of
Gris-like,
awards.
yeah.
But yeah, it looks cute and fun. It's an indie game, support indie developers. And like I said, I'm sure this little wolf deer thing, I'll cry when whatever something terrible happens to it. So yeah.
All right. Well, that's about everything then, I believe. And yeah, as we mentioned earlier, probably won't do a fresh pick because all of these were not really game record.
This was our
recommendations.
hopeful harvest.
Yeah, it was the hopeful harvest, which Randy really wants me to name this. So sure, that's what this episode's called. And people are gonna be really confused until they actually click out. It's like, what is this?
The true ones make it to the end and they comment hopeful harvest.
Sure.
You're a real
Nice.
one.
Sure. Yeah, why not? Okay. I love it. But what I love more is you three guys right here. So I want to thank you three for coming on and talking to me about some video games. Specifically, Robert, thank you. And thank you for bringing up the Sonic thing because that was really funny.
Sonic fans are creatures.
Yep. And half of them should stop drawing. Seth, thank you for coming on and doing your scheduled rant as you usually do. Insightful.
Yep, I have no shortage of those.
Yep. Don't worry, there'll be another one next podcast, I'm sure. And then Randy, thank you for coming on and being our resident Star Wars nerd, as you love calling yourself.
I got it. I'm here for it.
Love it. All right,
Just
and
not with those Star Wars nerds.
Yeah, don't lump me in with them.
now not those. It's just our resident Star Wars nerd, not one of those Star Wars nerds, as Seth calls them.
Or Dragon
I got
Age fans, or Baldur's Gate fans, or
Yeah.
just fans in general.
Just stop
Except
liking
our
things.
fans.
Yeah, because our
Except our
fans are
fans.
the
That's
best.
our stuff.
like,
'Cause-
like things, just stop being little bitches about them too.
unless you're a little bitch about the Fresh podcast, which is ending now because I need to end this episode. So thank you all for watching and listening, and stay safe out there. Goodbye.